everyone was able to attend the award ceremony that aired just prior to this program. We honored several very inspiring Dickinsonians who have achieved great things in their professional fields and given generously to their communities and to Dickinson. It's a great week to be a Dickinsonian. I joined the Dickinson family this past October and have been inspired to see how the community has come together and connected virtually over the past year. In fact, this is my first alumni weekend. I wish we were gathered on campus to have this celebration in person, but since that was not possible at the time that we planned this week's activities, we'll have to make the most out of this virtual environment. There are a number of exciting programs taking place throughout the week. Next year, assuming that we can do so safely, we plan to come together again as a community with in-person, on-campus events during homecoming and alumni weekend, along with many other regional alumni programs. I don't know about you, but for me, there's an emerging sense of optimism and hope, as though a second jazz age is about to begin, and I can't wait to experience it with you. Our program this evening is a bit different than we had originally planned. This will be President Margee Ensign's final alumni weekend, and she was eager to have the opportunity to say goodbye and give a few remarks. While we are all saddened to see Margee go, we know that her experience and expertise will be put to important work in Africa, and we wish her the very best in her future endeavors. Following Margee's remarks, we will then turn to Dickinson's next president, Judge John Jones. Judge Jones is retiring from a lifetime appointment on the federal bench to serve his alma mater. Dickinson is very fortunate to have two servant leaders in succession in the office of president who are guided by integrity, unselfishness, and a sense of purpose. We will have time for questions after Margee and John make their remarks, and we really look forward to hearing from you. One little housekeeping note, please utilize the raise hand function feature, which for those on a PC is found under the participants tab, and those on iPads or mobile devices will see under the More tab. So let me now turn it to President Ensign and Judge Jones.
Thank you so much, Carlo, and good evening or good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces here. But before I make a few remarks, let me thank Carlo. Carlo has been with us since I think October, and he's a perfect fit for Dickinson, is all I can say. He's hit the ground running, and the advancement division is in the best hands possible. I do have to tell you something funny though about hiring someone during the pandemic. I assumed Carlo was about my height. And of course I never met him before I hired him. And one day I was walking by campus and he was getting ready to go into his office and I hollered at him. I said, "Who do you think you are walking into that office?" And he turned around and of course it was Carlo. So when you meet him in person, you'll realize he's about 6'4", 6'5". He's definitely not my height. But he's an extraordinary individual and has already begun making a huge contribution to Dickinson. So it's wonderful to see you and it's sad to see you, knowing I won't see you again in person unless President Judge Jones invites me back next summer. I hope he does, because I'd love to see you again. But these 4 years have been extraordinary for me to be part of the Dickinson community. You know, I've been going around the country before the pandemic saying a Dickinson education is what the world needs at this point. And I believe that very firmly. With its global emphasis, its interdisciplinary approach, the best faculty I've worked with, and for me, its commitment also to civic learning and action. And I think that's one of the important things we've been able to do these last 4 years. Of course, with the help with this extraordinary senior staff that's on this call. I see Neil Weissman, our provost, and that Mellon grant that established our Civic Learning and Action Center wouldn't have happened without him. I see Kathy Davenport, who in the midst of a pandemic, our VP of enrollment, brought in one of our biggest classes in a long time. That tells you about the commitment that Dickinson has. I think somebody's got there, maybe you could go on mute. I see Karen Ferniak, my incredible chief of staff, Connie McNamara, VP of marketing. So one of the questions was, what surprised you about Dickinson? It's the quality of the faculty and this incredible senior staff. To be honest, everybody, I wish I could take them all with me back to Nigeria because there's a huge need. But no, Dickinson is in great hands. So some of the things I think that have been important the last 4 years are, first of all, the Revolutionary Challenge that you all participated in. We started that a couple years ago with a very different model. We said, if the Dickinson education is world-class, let's reach out to those alums. Let's reach out to our whole community for good ideas about the future. And important things have already emerged from that, including our new program in data analytics. And if those alums are on who helped shepherd that forward, I'm really grateful, because we're one of the first liberal arts colleges, as Neil well knows, to start a data analytics program. And that's so important for our future. I'm really proud of the work that we extended with the US Army War College. Incredible things were going on long before I got there, but as Provost Wiseman knows, and all of you may know, we started a graduate program with the War College, with Tulane University, and in Harvard. And this week, I had the great privilege to be on one of the final presentations of a lieutenant colonel on humanitarian response to humanitarian crisis. And let me tell you, that was a first-rate presentation. So I think with that work with the War College is really important, and I know Neil and Judge Jones will continue that. The civic learning and action piece, as I said, is important to me because the problems that we see facing us are both global and civic at the same time. And the work that Dickinson has been doing in the community since we were established, but particularly this last year, I'm particularly proud of. I think you know, during this pandemic, we extended out into the community with something called CAN, the Carlisle Action Network, with 92 local leaders to respond to the pandemic, to food insecurity, to the health crisis that we all faced. And I'm really, really proud of the work that the Dickinson community members did on CAN. There's other things I could talk about, but let me just say it's been a great, great privilege to be your president these 4 years. It's hard to leave. It's hard to leave a place you believe in with people who have been so incredible. But when you leave a place you believe in, how often do you get to leave it in the hands of somebody like Judge Jones? Honestly, my friend, my mentor, one of the wisest people I've ever worked with. Dickinson is in great hands, Judge Jones. Over to you. Thank you.
Margee, I'm humbled by your words, and I can't say enough about how terrific it's been to work with you over the last 4 years. They flew by, and we wish you all the best. This is a very bittersweet occasion for all of us, but I do appreciate the opportunity with Margee to talk to the members of the society and tell you a little bit about myself that may not have appeared in some of the bios and the other materials that you have received and will receive in the future. I did not anticipate having this offer made. It was something that I did not aspire to do. It came on the heels of Margee indicating that she was departing. I was doing my duty as the chair of the board of trustees, something I've done for the last 4 years. And of course, I've been on the board for over a dozen years. And my peers, my colleagues on the board approached me and asked if I would consider succeeding Margee as president. I was initially skeptical, simply because I could not get my brain around the stunning opportunity that was being afforded to me. As I thought about it and as I considered it in the context of where I am in my life and the love that I have for Dickinson College, the decision became clear. And so I am eager and I'm excited to serve as interim president of the college. I will tell you that, by way of a little history, like many of you, I suspect, and I really commend all of you who've had a consistent path since you graduated from Dickinson. Many of you have. I did not. I disconnected for a time, and I say that very freely. I was raising a family. I was pursuing my professional career, And I had the great good fortune to reconnect with the college when I was asked to come back and give the commencement speech in 2006. One of the most epically great days of my life. It's indescribable to be able to go back to your alma mater and give the commencement speech. I thought, that was that, and certainly it was a wonderful occasion, but I couldn't possibly foresee what that would mean to me and to my family. And in the ensuing years, my son decided to enroll in Dickinson. He did that in 2007. He's a member of the class of 2011. And in the meantime, an approach was made to me to join the Board of Trustees. And as I've joked with people, I think when I was a student at Dickinson, I wasn't even sure what the Board of Trustees was or what the board did. And I never would have imagined that I'd be invited to join that august group. And so I was honored by that. And then in the succeeding years, my niece also attended Dickinson, and she's a member, Lexi, of the class of 2017. And through all of the last dozen years, my abiding love for the college has grown greater and greater. So when I considered this opportunity, it simply became sort of a logical path for me to take, and I'm certainly all in. What I value the most about my Dickinson education, and I would guess that you're the same way that I am, my friends, is the sheer usefulness and benefit of a liberal arts education that has served me well through all the posts in my career as a lawyer, as an individual who was privileged to serve in a governor's administration, as a member of the federal bench. And now I'll put those same skills, test those same skills, and put them to use as the president of Dickinson College. The sort of eclectic mix that you receive with a Dickinson education, that intellectual curiosity that fires up in you is a lifelong attribute, and I am eager to use that skill set in one more perhaps career capping venture. So it's great to be with you tonight. I'll do my best to answer some questions. I hope you'll give me a little bit of a wider berth. As I haven't started formally yet, I'm following a very formidable president, but I'm really eager to face the challenges ahead, as I said. So it's good to be with you.
Thank you, Judge Jones and President Ensign. So we're going to transition now into the Q&A portion. And just a reminder, please use the hand raising function, if you would, so that we can see who has their hand raised and who's interested in asking a question. While you're doing that, we got some questions online. So I'm going to start with you, Judge Jones. We got a question from Bob Crawford. And he asks, are you planning to carry your Dickinson message in person to alumni that live in major US cities like Chicago?
I'll be there. I want to say that Carlo is as advertised by Margee. Carlo is superb. I don't know where we could have found anybody as good. We couldn't have found anybody as good and a perfect fit as Carlo is. And he and I have already had this terrific bonding since we've gotten to know each other. And we're going to take the show on the road. So we'll be in Chicago. And we're going to embark on a tour, I think, as soon as this fall. So you'll see me, and I'm eager to get out there and do this.
That's great. And then President Ensign, we got a question about your returning back as president of the American University of Nigeria. And the question was, what will be or what is your most pressing goal when you return as president at American University of Nigeria?
Sorry, when are we going to be able to say, not have to say anymore, you're muted? Let's hope it's coming soon. But, it's a hard question. For those of you who know that region of sub-Saharan Africa, it's a very challenging moment. And it's really one of the main reasons I'm going back. I was asked to return both by folks in Nigeria and the US because the situation where the university is located has become a bit more critical. It's the region of Nigeria, Northeast Nigeria, where Boko Haram started. By the time I left 4 years ago, things had calmed down, but it's quite a bit worse now. Young people, 800 young people have been kidnapped in the last few months. So what in the world is the role of a university out in an environment like that? The university for some time ran peace work with the major leaders, the Muslim and Christian leaders. Unfortunately, that stopped the last few years. So believe it or not, that's my #1 priority. If you don't have peace, you can't have much else going on. So we'll be gathering those leaders as soon as I arrive to begin to forge consensus on some issues. Enrollment is a huge challenge when you're in the middle of a civil war. So this is why I want to take Kathy Davenport with me. I won't be taking her. So enrollment's a huge issue. You know, there's a number of them, but the first is really the issue related to conflict. And that's what we'll be focusing on starting next month.
Okay, Ben, you have your hand raised.
Okay, thanks, Carlo. First, you know, of course, it was very disappointing when I saw that Margee was leaving. I think that she started just about time of her 50th reunion, and I've really thought that Margee, you were sort of a force of nature and great for Dickinson. And I did get a call though when that was announced from a good friend of mine who's an attorney in Philadelphia, and he said, Ben, he's a graduate of Kenyon. He said, Ben, congratulations. I see Judge Jones is going to be taking over. He says he's a terrific guy, a great jurist. And I accepted the congratulations and told him how much I had a role in that. Anyway, that's smoothly. Anyway, I do have a question though. The pandemic created so much uncertainty and disruption for the students, for so many of us. But there were some silver linings. And one was Dickinson's offer to allow alumni to audit classes. And I don't know how many did. I know some people on this call have, I did. And I was blown away by both the faculty that I came in contact with and the students were just amazing. I mean, I was humbled by the students. So I guess my question is, at this point, is there any thought in any way that can be continued? Maybe not easily, but it certainly was a great.
Ben, let me jump in. I agree with you. There were a few silver linings in the midst of this, you know, horrible 15 months, and that certainly is one of them. And there have been lots of discussions, and the provost is shaking his head, yes, about how we best continue that, how we begin some new programs for alums. I think it's, you know, as I said, I think it's one of the really positive things that emerged is that alums reconnected in new ways. And I hope that it brought back not only memories of the 4 years that you had at Dickinson, but just how terrific our faculty is and our academic programs are. So I'm gonna let, since I won't be making that final decision, let me turn it to Judge Jones. And you're absolutely right, Ben. I can't think of anybody better to take over as president. I've said to him more than once, he's gonna be the very best Dickinson has had. John?
Well, that remains to be seen, but Ben, thank you. I obviously have a friend that who is a friend of yours, and I assume has been before me. But on your question, absolutely. And I do think that you know, we're learning now as we decompress a little bit from the pandemic that there are some useful takeaways from it. And we have such a terrific faculty that if we don't leverage the faculty and really foster lifelong learning, then shame on us. You know, when I guest lecture, as I have principally in political science courses through the years, I've had the same reaction that you do. Both the students and the wonderful professors that we have. So we'll find a way to continue that, working with Provost Weissman, and stay tuned. That's a takeaway that we would do well to continue, and we will.
Thank you.
And just as a data point, because I know there was some interest, we had over 200 alums sign up for those classes, and the feedback has just been overwhelmingly positive, both from faculty, from alumni, just having a multi-generational learning environment is invaluable when you think about what our current students are going to do. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Neil, because he and I have been working on some thinking for this.
I was just going to say that the faculty were very enthused about it too. They enjoyed it. They thought it enriched the classes. And so we'll definitely be looking into it going forward.
Okay, I'm looking and it seems the next question I have Bob Eskin.
Thank you. As a fellow one of the auditors, I have been very concerned about the ability to continue that. And I know at least in the class I was in, which happened to be one where the live part took place at Denny. I don't know how much this extends elsewhere. Clearly to the professor teaching the course, as much as he enjoyed the interaction, he was muttering that there's no way he would ever teach a hybrid course again, which of course the auditing capability can't continue unless it's in a hybrid manner. And a lot of it seemed to have to do with the technology in the classrooms or related to the classrooms just wasn't there to allow him to cover everything. Now, and I think his sense was the cost would be prohibitive to do anything about that. I guess as somebody who's not very technical myself, I'm hoping he's wrong.
Well, just to jump in, Bob, I will tell you that we had to scramble, as Margee and Neil know only too well, to get online and to do all the things that we were forced to do in a short period of time to spool up and continue everybody's education during the pandemic. But one of the things that it demonstrated to everybody, and I can tell you from my perspective in the judiciary, we have gone through all kinds of platforms, Zoom, WebEx, Teams, and none of them have performed flawlessly. It is miserable to try to conduct a proceeding with an inmate sitting in a prison with a lot of background noise that you can't filter out. So everybody's had these speed bumps and the hiccups. We're going to concentrate on our IT area going forward, and we need to recognize that as a priority, and we will. And I understand that everything has a cost, but I think it will benefit us greatly over the long term to make sure that not only are we prepared to do this when we need to do it, but also to expand our reach as a college and to have as world-class a set of technological tools as we can. So I'm confident that we'll be able to meet that. And I understand the frustration of the faculty members because it is really tough. It was tough to do that, I think, for all of us who were forced into, using different technologies. And everybody is deathly sick of Zooming. I know everybody's got their favorite bad Zoom story, and life goes on. We're all eager to get face to face again, but there are uses that will endure, and we need to make sure that we can adapt.
It looks like
if I can follow up just briefly, I'm not sure how much the problem was that I ran into was Zoom versus classroom acoustics or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's.
And one thing I would note, if you're going to look at other systems, don't look at whatever it starts with a K. I don't remember I think it was Kuomintang. Don't bother trying to copy Princeton. The system they used for their reunions recently was awful.
We want Princeton to copy us, first of all, and
exactly.
And second, let me just tell you, it's a mixed bag. I get the point about the acoustics. I mean, it's again, what are you going to do when you have to adapt the technology in a room that may not be acoustically sound? There are all kinds of issues, that arise. We'll get
I can
better
jump in real quick. Bob, I appreciate your comment. Bob, I appreciate your comments, but I did 2 courses over the last 2 semesters. They were fantastic. The professors were super. The interaction with the students was fantastic. In my opinion, if the school doesn't continue the opportunity for alums to be involved, they're missing a huge opportunity. And the more alumni that get on it and see what's available, the more that they'll realize how little they knew when they were back at Dickinson.
Well, yeah, that's a good comment, but we also want you to see the world-class faculty that we have, and we need to sustain that world-class faculty. You know, it's not so abstract. We can talk about that all the time, but when you see our professors in action, I think that in and of itself, besides just the value of the class and how intellectually stimulating it is, but just seeing them work, I think should you know, make you continue the wonderful commitments that you've all made to the college.
Judge, I couldn't agree with you more. The 2 professors I had were completely, unequivocally very different in their presentations. They were both excellent. And my point is that this needs to be continued. It doesn't make any difference what the cost is or how it gets done or what internet service they do. But if you'll continue this, you'll affirm the affinity that alumni have with their faculty.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Great comment.
Judge, we have a couple more questions here. I want to make sure I get through. I see Neil has his hand raised, and because we're talking about faculty, I just want to make sure he has an opportunity to say some things. But then after Neil, it'll be Judge Masland and Raymond Jones.
Yeah, very quickly, beyond reminding everybody that our founder was a Princetonian, as am I. But in terms of hybrid, everybody hates hybrid, not just at Dickinson. It's universally disliked. And of course, you know, our classrooms are generally built for in-person, not built for hybrid. But we do have a handful that have much better technology than the average rooms, and we're expanding that number. So we will be able to offer, I think, a reasonable number of courses in rooms that are technologically built for it. So your concern is a real one, and we are trying to address it that way.
Okay, Al?
I can speak real quickly to this topic. I know you want to get to other issues, but as an adjunct professor, I was so fortunate to have Melissa Swain Peacock, class of '87, in my class. She was one of 15, but she was a catalyst in many ways. And I know I'm not a trained professor, but she made the class better. Her presence, we had probably better interaction and discussions this year than we'd had in the past. And she, I would say, did a large measure of getting the other kids to participate, maybe because they were kind of like her kids as opposed to my grandkids. But just one final shout out. Thank you, Margee. We're going to miss you on Conway Street. And I'm sure the Joneses will be providing all sorts of libations, but we're going to miss you. Take care.
Thanks, Al. John has agreed to hold all the neighborhood parties, so don't worry.
That's right. That's right. We're taking the house, Judge Masland. We're taking the house on a shakedown cruise later this week, so I'll look forward to seeing you.
We heard it's on the record. Parties at the new president's house. We will continue.
Right.
Okay, next up is Raymond Jones, and then Kirk Swenson.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was curious about, I did listen to the program this morning at 11 on admissions, and a lot of it was on sort of general principles of the admissions process. So we didn't have too much time to talk about the actual profile of the class that's coming in this fall. So I was just curious how we ended up with what we ended up with, and what was the biggest challenge from COVID, and were there any actual positives that came out of the COVID situation in terms of recruiting?
You know, I think Kathy Davenport should answer that. She's on this, but you know, we should all just take a minute, as I was saying at the beginning, to thank Kathy and her team and Connie from marketing, because we turned on a dime. at Dickinson. And unlike other colleges, we brought in a big class. That was not easy. In fact, it was revolutionary. So over to Kathy.
Great, thank you so much, Margee. It was absolutely amazing that in 2020, we released decisions March 12th, put the packets in the mail on Friday the 13th. On Monday, March 16th, 2020, that was our last day in the office. And if you had ever told me as an career admissions person for over 30 years, that we would not be on campus to bring in the next class, I would have laughed. But as Margee said, with the great work of marketing and communications, on that day, March 16, 2020, we put up on our website virtual events and activities that we would be hosting in order to connect with every accepted student and their family, because they were not going to be able to come to campus to make that final decision. And so from that, we built some amazing platforms to continue that good work. The one advantage we had in 2020 was that we had been working with those students for 18 to 24 months, and then just had to bring them in, kind of seal the deal, finalize the process. The true challenge became working with the next year, where we had been working with them, but they didn't really know us personally. They did not know us as well. And so to take the enthusiastic enrollment team, admissions, financial aid, and our coaching staff, and be able to, in July of 2020, start offering visits on campus, because we knew we could not recreate the emotional connection to the college without people putting foot on campus. And so we crafted a way to make that happen in a very safe way, and did that from July until end of November. And then started up again in January. So it was really print communication, electronic communication, using social media platforms, connecting with parents. We had faculty involved. We were able to do, just like was said earlier about alumni being able to be in classes because of the remote opportunity, we were able to do so much more with parents of accepted students in all time zones at all different times, because we were able to meet them where they were. We also put tents up on campus in late March, so we could again host admissions events on campus in socially distanced ways. We were one of a handful of colleges doing that. So we continued our virtual work, but we also did the on-campus work as well. And really, we heard tremendous responses from school counselors, independent counselors, parents of incoming students, that we did it better than anybody else they were considering. And that really made it happen. The team worked tirelessly, to be able to do it. We had a virtual group, we had an on-campus group, and we did everything we could to be available and accessible. So it's a great team that we have at the college. They're very dedicated, very committed. They do great things every day. And the students coming in, as was said, I don't have all the bells and whistles of the data at this point, but we exceeded our enrollment goal. We are sitting we expect to be in the low 600s, but we are sitting well above that right now. We're waiting to see, students, they're anxious to get out of their bedrooms and homes. They want to come to college. They want to be on Dickinson's campus. And so we're ready for them. In that regard, the energy and excitement is definitely there.
Thank you, and congratulations on a good job.
It's really a team of everyone pulling together, and Kathy just did an awesome, incredible job. That's a great question. Okay, Kirk, you're up.
Hey, Carlo. Your Honor, if I was better with technology, I'd put a cat face on so it would feel like a legal proceeding for you, but I couldn't pull that off tonight. I would just love to hear, I know the board adopted the 4 strategic initiatives that were raised through the Revolutionary Challenge, and that you all voted to move forward with those in the fall. Can you just give us an update on where those stand and what lies ahead for those?
Well, I'm going to toss it to Carlo in a minute, but simply say that for those of you who haven't really done a deep dive into what we're doing, it's called an adaptive campaign. It's a little different. It started under Kirk, who just asked that question, and who moved on to other pastures. But Kirk had a wonderful tenure as head of advancement, succeeded obviously by Carlo, who's terrific. And what we're doing is cutting edge in the sense that we're appealing to donors who have a passion for particular areas rather than sort of the broad, unrestricted gifts. It's sort of a new way of thinking, and I think it's remarkable, and it's going to be remarkably successful. Carlo, you want to give the short executive summary of where we are with the winners, with the projects that we're highlighting?
Happy to. So the PBI and the Board of Trustees approved the 4 programs, Future Lab, Farm Lab, the Leadership Initiative, and Data Analytics. And each of those projects really have a different timeline based on kind of where they are in their refinement process, the process for executing them. So the one that really hit the ground running through the incredible generosity and the energy and support from alumni was Data Analytics. That's a program we were able to get off the ground. We were able to fund some really critical faculty positions and add that to the curriculum, which I think in higher ed was like lightning speed, and really kind of a great testament to the effective work that was done through the Revolutionary Challenge. Another initiative that was endorsed through that process was the Farm Lab. Farm Lab is an infrastructure project, so it has a different timeline. Requires local approval, requires us to do more planning for the capital improvement component, make sure we do the pre-design work and those kinds of things. So that is ongoing, and we will build out a volunteer leadership committee over the next month or two, and we'll start to develop the fundraising component of that project. Future Lab and Leadership were endorsed, but with conditionally. And the conditions weren't because the board had any skepticism on the merits of those initiatives, just that they needed further refinement for them to be effective and to be executed. And Future Lab, in fact, has had that refinement, and we're actually bringing that to the board to add it as an element of the adaptive campaign, as Judge Jones just mentioned. And we'll start the fundraising for that this summer as well. So what I'd say to everybody, I'm sorry, Carlo, just to jump in. What I would say to everybody is stay tuned, because this is an exciting initiative. This is a campaign that we've really embraced, and it'll start to unfold in earnest in the time ahead. And so we would urge you to read about it and engage and see if these ideas, which we think they will, stoke some passion in you and make you feel that you want to make a commitment in these areas. Data analytics, we thought was virtually a no-brainer given the where we are as a country and the value of that. And you know, Kathy Davenport talked about how successful we are in the marketplace. These are the kind of things that are going to make us, that are going to keep us successful in the marketplace, all of these projects as we move forward. Thanks, Judge Jones. So we have room for one more question. We had another question that came in online. So let me share that. And this question is really for both of you. And so the question is, what are 1 or 2 of your wishes for the future of Dickinson College? And I'll let whoever would like to start, either you, Margee, or I'll let you start.
John, why don't you start, and then I'll close it off.
Well, my wish for Dickinson is that it will remain this bastion, this beacon of the liberal arts as it's been. We need to adapt to the times in terms of some of the things we've talked about this evening. But Dickinson is a tradition, but it's also the people who serve there. And your comments about the professors that you saw really reflect that. My wish for the future is that we stay wildly popular in the marketplace, that we continue to have successful enrollment, that we engage in robust fundraising, that we're well endowed going forward, and that my grandchildren and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren and children, as the case may be, will have the same opportunities that all of us did at Dickinson College.
Thanks, John. My wish is that we continue to graduate people who turn into alums like you, extraordinary folks. It's there's so many familiar faces on this call, and I know all of you. And I'm deeply appreciative of all that you've done for Dickinson and that you will continue to do in support of Judge Jones. I hate to call out individual people, but there's fun stories behind some of them. So, you know, Scott Bowman, Roz Robinson, Kathy Bachman, the Millers who are on here. I think one of my favorite moments as president was doing that treasure hunt in Grand Central. Anybody who was on that, it was just so much fun. So I wish, and Jim Chambers, thanks everybody for supporting me, for supporting Dickinson. Judge Jones has said it. It's a very challenging moment in American higher education, as well as in higher education around the world. In the US, the demographics are shifting very, very quickly. There will be fewer college-age students. It's already started, as Kathy knows. The next 5 years, we're gonna see profound change. Dickinson needs every one of you to be a warrior, to keep talking about Dickinson wherever you live, about how important this education is, how life-changing it is, to support us and now Dickinson financially when you can. As Judge Jones said, the scholarship campaign is ready to launch, and Dickinson needs you. Look what this education has done for you and for your lives and your families. So thank you for your support. Thanks for all that you do for Dickinson. And let's give a big, giant round of applause for the almost President Judge Jones.
Can I ask a question?
Carlo?
Sure. Yeah, we can take one last question. Sure.
This is Phil Greenhut, class of 1959.
Hey, Phil.
And I've always, class of 1959, long time ago.
Yeah, we can hear
What
you.
is the population at Dickinson now?
What's the total student population?
Yeah.
Neil, you've got those numbers, I'm sure.
What?
Currently 2,000, but because of COVID, that's a little lower than usual. We have 705, right, Kathy? Coming in the fall as first years. So that includes recruited this year and some were deferred. So we're a bit over 2,000.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil. Carlo, over to you.
Well, thanks everybody so much for participating today. And as I just want to end where we began with best wishes to you, Margee, and we're going to miss you. And John, we are extremely excited that you have stepped into this role and so grateful that you are making such an incredible sacrifice for the good of Dickinson. We're very fortunate to have you. I want to thank all the alumni for all that you do for Dickinson. And I can't wait to meet as many of you as I can as soon as possible in person. And take care and enjoy the rest of Alumni Week and weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Carlo.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Take care.